She want my back, she want my.
Hello and welcome to DS News. Your host Tony Draper. Today I want to give you a story about Allen Iverson, NBA legend. But I want to tell you how systematic racism almost cost us a legend who inspired so many black, white, and all races. So what happened before Allen Iverson became an NBA All-Star, a Georgetown Hoya, he was a high school standout at Bethel High School.
You have all the black guys who said the fight started because the white guys called him a nigger. You got the white guys who said Iverson and his boys were walking through there trying to be Barney badasses.
It was the worst case of racism ever seen in the court system.
When you start injuring innocent people, you got to take the responsibility for what you do.
I was convicted before I even went in court.
I believe he stayed, I believe he fought, and I believe there's accountability in that.
Always race.
And Hampton, Virginia. He was an All-American basketball and football player. But unfortunately, he was in a large brawl that took part in his high school between black and white students. So at the end of all the melee, 4 people was arrested, but the only 4 people was black students of the high school, including Allen Iverson. So it was a documentary made that shows that the fight was actually started by one of the white students, but no one was punished, and the serious injury of the fight was a young lady was hit in the hair with a chair. That video shows that Allen Iverson did not throw. So when the case finally went to trial, Allen Iverson was sentenced to 15 years in prison, and no charges was brought on any white students. So the Judge Overton, he was known to be tough on sentencing and has a prejudice background. He is now died a few years back, but in the late 2000s, he had also had cases where he was under fire again for trying to influence cases with his power, and it was unsolicited. So it was a lot of systematic racism going on in Hampton, Virginia, where locals still say there is issues with race today. One of the major landmarks for Confederate monuments are in Hampton, Virginia. This case had quite an impact on Allen Iverson. He almost did not go to college. He lost so many scholarships, but luckily a black coach at Georgetown took a chance on him, seeing that he was actually a good kid. He may have made a mistake, was involved in a fight he should not have been a part of, but he was given a second chance, and he became a standout at Georgetown, ended up being a number 1 pick for the Philadelphia 76ers. So just imagine if those charges were not eventually dropped because of people show interest because he was a basketball star. There's so many people that go to jail and get hit with the book and may be innocent. That Allen Iverson could have been an Allen Iverson of doctors or lawyers. He was talented and persevered and made it to the NBA. He was met again with pushback about his style and his culture. That is another definition of systematic racism. He was being hated on. The media did not like him because he was being called a thug, his cornrows, his tattoos. But eventually, it became part of the NBA culture, and thanks to him, now we have players like Russell Westbrook and James Harden that can go out and be themselves. So they even made a dress code to try to curb how people dress because they didn't like the hip-hop culture seeping into the NBA. And you may see it a lot. Fans call the players thugs because of their tattoos. This is another example of systematic racism. That I've just mentioned, J.R. Smith, Allen Iverson, and Carmelo Anthony all played for Denver Nuggets' George Karl, who has recently become under fire because of statements he made about former players in his book, Kenyon Martin and Carmelo. And Kenyon Martin had revealed information from while he played with the man that he may have been a little prejudiced and made comments about Kenyon Martin's upbringing that was a little distasteful. So this is another reason to show that we need more black coaches in the NBA. If the league is 90% black players, but coaches only make up 10%, there's a problem. And it's because they are not able to relate to the culture of the players they are leading. A coach is supposed to know how to draw the X's and O's, but a number one thing is communication. So that leads me to my next point, that those were Allen Iverson's last few years in the NBA with the Denver Nuggets, and they were put out by the Los Angeles Lakers before Allen Iverson was dubbed "He's over the hill." But we seen what happened when they said that to Carmelo, and this year he came back averaging 18 points a game. Probably was going to get comeback player of the year or most improved. But to make my point clear, the last two coaches to take a chance on Allen Iverson was Lionel Hollins from Memphis Grizzlies and Michael Curry from the Detroit Pistons. So we almost lost Allen Iverson to systematic racism outside the court, and then on the court we lost him due to not being enough black coaches in the league and people not understanding our culture in the league. So let's do our job and educate people on racism, prejudice, and inclusion and equality. And thank you for joining DS News.